What is up, guys? It is Simba here and welcome back to another league racing video on F1 24, and today it is round number 3 for the AEC mini series, and today we're going to be racing in Qatar for this race. And if you go on to enjoy the video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more league racing content. It is slowly making its way back into the actual league racing season, and I hope you guys are all excited for it. We're nearly at 300 subscribers as well, so I'm pretty sure we'll be hitting that in the near future as well. But let's get straight into qualifying then. Qatar obviously has had a few changes. As you can see, we have to break a little bit later than the 50-meter board that would be there, but it's been knocked over, so we don't exactly have a reference point for the first corner. I mean, you would use it to basically break a little bit later than the 50-meter board, but we press on with the lap, going through turns 4 and 5. Not great, to be honest, and the first sector is a 29.8 as we botch the hairpin horrendously there, just drifting through the corner instead of actually getting the car rotated. So yeah, this lap isn't looking too great. It's a 56.8 middle sector split, which, you know, isn't great, but for a banker lap, I guess it's not the worst thing in the world. As we come through the final 2 corners, 1 downshift to 6th gear, and then you want to prepare for the final corner, braking at the end of the red strips and into 4th gear, decent exit, and across the line it's going to be a 120.9, which I wasn't really happy about, and you know, we could do a bit better. We're P8 at the time, but we get pushed down to P12. My teammate for this race was one of our newest drivers, FGE Meatball, and I missed the last race in Silverstone. And if you haven't seen the last race in Belgium, the last one I did, check out in the top right. And let's get into the final lap of the session. So, DRS wide open, using a bit of overtake as we prepare for turn 1. Down the gears to 5th gear, making sure we're as close as we can to the apex, and we are a little bit more confident on the traction. And going into turn 2, and on the exit, we have gained over 3/4 of a tenth, over a tenth, as we go into turns 4 and 5. Down to 6th, we just turn in.
Oh, fuck off.
A bit too early. And just like that, the lap is in the bin. And look at the first sector we've done as well. A 0.7 first sector, and the hairpin was so bad on the last lap. Look at the time we've gained on this lap. So we're going to just finish the lap and see what it could have been. But as you can see, we're 3/10 up, and we've still got a decent amount of the lap to go, as we do open up the left-hander there, and look at that, 3.5 up nearly, as we go into the final sector. 56.4 on the sector 2 split, and that's my best one I've done, and unfortunately the lap is not going to count. Going into the fast left-hander, 1 downshift to 6th, up to 7th on the exit, and we are literally 4/10 up. So we're going to come round the final corner knowing that we've made a 4/10 improvement, and across the line it's going to be a 20.4 invalid. My all-time PB will not stand, and as a result, it is P12 in qualifying, and that lap would have put us into the top 4. So we've given ourselves a bit of work to do in the race, and our teammate couldn't get a lap in. He was struggling for pace when we were practicing, and he's going to be starting 17th. Only 17 of us, so it's going to be quite a tough ask to get into the top 10. So let's get into the race and see how we do. So here we go then, time for the start of the race, and we are talking about strategy, which is going to be key here.
I might just go on the hubs, because I was just practicing on those the most. So,
and you can hear me talking to Meatball. He hasn't included his audio, and you heard me say that we're going to start on the hard tyre. That was the tyre I was practicing with at the start before the race went on. So that's exactly what we're going to be starting on. 5 red lights. Let's try and send it and see what we can do as the lights are out. And we are underway for the Qatar Grand Prix. And the getaway is okay, as we can see Chazu Lurch, or PGR Lurch I should say, lags back a little bit. We make a bit of contact with him going into the first corner. We get a warning for colliding with the PGR driver as we try and go round the outside out of turn 2. He just gives us a squeeze, and he looks a little bit jittery, so we're going to see if we can try and stick up the inside, try not to get a silly warning for track limits. And he's turned into AI now as we go into the hairpin.
why is he AI, man?
I have no idea why he is suddenly an AI car, so we send it up the inside at the hairpin, and that is us up into P11 in this race, and it kind of felt like we had to make that move as soon as possible because the AI would be a lot slower than most guys here, so we don't want to lose too much time fighting an AI car, especially through this part of the circuit where it's hard to overtake. So we're up into P11, and right in front of us is Shazoo Bobbert, a driver that I've shared the grid with several times as we moved up to WR Tier 2 on last game, and he's also on the hard tyres as well, so he's going to be on a similar strategy, which means the main priority for us is to make sure that we just stick with him, because it will become crucial for later on in the race. So, end of lap 2, things are looking okay.
Alex has a penalty already.
And that is a crucial part of information that I've just shared there. Alex with a 3-second penalty already, so we'll have to watch out for that. Obviously, as you guys know, Qatar is a really harsh track for track limits, and it's very easy to get pick-up warnings and penalties, and I feel like that might not be the only penalty that we'll see throughout this Grand Prix. So, along with that, we have to also make sure that we manage to get these hard tyres up and running, because even though these tyres are really durable on F1 24, the first few laps, they feel like crap. So, they haven't felt great so far as we pick up our first warning for track limits. We just cut the inside of the last corner, which is very impressive and a little bit annoying, but we've still got 2 warnings in hand. As you can see, nothing much is happening. Like, Qatar is basically a DRS train. It's pretty hard to overtake around Qatar, except maybe the hairpin and maybe the main straight, as AERT Alex has retired from the race. He retired in the pit lane. I think he had a spin a lap before, and he looked pretty aggressive on those medium tyres, so that's even more difficult. As, oh dear, what is that hairpin? As we get that completely wrong, and that is warning number 2. So we're gonna have to do the rest of this race without getting a warning. Otherwise, that's gonna be a 3-second time penalty, which will be costly considering we're not in the top 10 yet at this stage of the race. So we're gonna have to be careful, and that's not ideal. So we're on the proverbial tightrope for the rest of the race, and going on to lap 9, my teammate Meatball retired. He was kind of struggling on pace. He started on the hards as well. He struggled to get them up to temperature, and he decided to retire. Meanwhile, there's action in front of us.
Oh dear, why are you going for that, son? Oh, he's actually made that work, in fairness.
And that is NVR Quantum being passed by BRT Plum, and he's already got a 3-second penalty. And at this point, I was thinking that he got some sort of damage, so I think it's going to be crucial that we're going to have to pass him. And Bobbert senses that, as he's going to go up the inside, going through this fast right-hander, and he's pulled it off, in fairness to him. A lovely move from the Shazoo driver. He's up into P9, and we are right behind Quantum, and we're going to have to be pretty ruthless with this one. We can't really afford to waste too much time behind him. So, out of the final corner, we do not cut the inside, and we're going to drain the battery. Meanwhile, JT is in the pits as well, only on lap 9. So he's gone for a really early pit stop, probably for a massive undercut or something like that. As we go up the inside of Quantum, going into turn 1, and by the time we get out of the first corner, we have moved ahead of the NVR driver, and that is us up into the top 10, and it's up into P9. We go in this Qatar Grand Prix, and honestly, the main thing that we were doing is just making sure that we've got a good amount of battery and just following Bobberts, to be honest. At this point, the hard tyres will be the quicker tyre, and we're going to stay out for a little bit longer. So by the time we cut on to lap 15, we're up into P3, simply because me, Bobbert, and Shazoo Ogwin up ahead have not pitted. So literally all we've been doing is following Bobbert, and we're going to see if we can try and relay with him. But as you can see, we're not quite close enough. But I am fancying a move down the main straight. But as we come out of the last corner, we have a bit of a moment, and that's cost us a little bit of time.
We'll just try again next lap. I'm not going to pass him now. Such a terrible run through there.
So yeah, not ideal, as the tyres are around 50%. They were feeling pretty decent at this stage of the race. But yeah, we couldn't quite size up a move on Bobberts on this occasion. So we're going to have to wait for the next lap and see if we can pass him then. Ogwin is 5.5 seconds up ahead as well, which is crucial. So he'll probably be the most likely to make this overcut work with the medium tyres, as they will be definitely quicker at this stage of the race. Meanwhile, going through the middle sector, Bobbert has a massive moment on the exit.
Alright, there we go then. We're going to try and pass him on the end of the straight this lap.
And on this occasion, we are a lot closer to the Shazoo driver, and we're going to be sizing up the best chance we've got to overtake him on the main straight after the final corner. So we will definitely be trying to do that on this lap, as long as we get the exit right here, we should be able to do so. Out the final corner, he peels off into the pits, and we're going to inherit the lead.
Right, let's go then. They're boxed. We take the lead of the race, so see.
As I crack out the old Sue, Ogwin and Bobbert are both in the pits, and that means we lead the Qatar Grand Prix. And now it's up to us to put the hammer down on this lap, because we're going to be on the freshest tyres on the entire grid, so we're going to have to send it and make sure that we put ourselves in the best position for this overcut to work. As you can see, we're just toggling around the ERS modes from overtake to hot lap, even none through the corners. I want to really make sure we nail this in lap, as we put in a personal best middle sector at the on our in lap as well, so it's not looking too bad at all. And I'm thinking that we could be able to snatch a top 10 here by the end of the race. We're 15 seconds ahead of Rain and Tech Brutal, who were the race leaders who pitted for hard tyres at least 4 or 5 laps ago. So going into the pits, bit of a cautious entry, but that's a solid into the stint.
Right, I think I used a lot of battery. It's pretty solid. I think we might come out behind Bobbert. As long as we're still in that train, we might still have a chance at a top 10 here.
So there is the stint debrief as we put on the medium tyres. So I feel like we've done a decent job. I think we will come up behind Bobbert's, but I think we might have stayed out a bit too long. As you can see, the train of cars are going through on the main straight, and Bobbert's goes through with Quantum, and you can see the gap that they've got over us now. Just by staying out that one extra lap, we've lost a good 2.8 seconds, and we're going to have to work hard to close the gap.
Could have followed Bobbert in.
And you simply hear me say, I could have followed him in, and maybe we should have, because look at the time we've lost. 2.7 seconds is going to be hard to gain. But by the time we make a beautiful transition on the very next lap, we have caught up very, very easily. And our first man on the hit list is NVR Gapball. What a game attack. That is actually NVR David. In the second NVR car. I don't know what the game attack is, but as you saw there in the background in our outlap, you saw Bobbert's making moves, and that's going to be important because he's basically putting cars in between us. So it's up to us to make sure we pass these cars as quickly as possible and make sure we don't lose too much time to the second Shazoo driver. So David, not Gyatbo, David is going to be the first man on the hit list as Ogwin sets the pace up in ahead of us along with Bobbert. So DRS wide open using the overtake. David is harvesting, and this is going to be a very, very simple move. Going down in towards the first corner, we lock in P9, and I forgot to mention we already came out in the top 10, so the overcut did work quite nicely. So it gives us a lot of freedom just to push and try and pass the cars ahead, and that is us up into P9 in this race. And next up is JT in front of us. He pitted on the end of lap 9, so his tyres are quite a few laps older than the cars around us right now. As yeah, we're gonna see if we can use these mediums to good advantage as JT gets himself a penalty through the fast right-handers. Another warning shot for us if we're not careful with track limits. So we're gonna see if we can size up a move, as he's not got DRS at the end of the straight.
Oh, he made that very easy. Thank you very much.
And that is up to P8 we go. JT drops it on the exit on the final corner, and we'll just say thank you very much. I'll take that position, and that is us up into P8. And now our next target is BRT Plum on the hard tyres as well. So on to lap 22. We're going to keep on trying to make these moves. The best chances we have are at turn 1 to make these overtakes, as everyone's harvesting down the straight. But as you can see, we're running out of battery, and it's showing here. Plum is flashing. We are definitely flashing, but we're going to send it up the inside anyway. into turn 1, and the tyre grip we have is we've got so much more grip on these new mediums compared to the hard runners who've been on their tyres for a good 9-10 laps at this stage, and that is us up into P7. But you can see that Bobbitt continues to put cars in between us. I think he's just past Tech, AERT Tech, on the hard tyres, and we've got TTM Lucas to overtake as well, who mentioned in my last video that he got taken out of the bus stop chicane when I said that he spun out. So thankfully he hasn't done that this time. He's also got a 3-second penalty, so it's our best chance to pass him. We don't have to. Obviously we'll gain the position thanks to a lack of penalties if we keep on staying disciplined. But as you can see, on this occasion, we don't close in at all. And, you know, you might think, all right, it's fine, you've got fresher tyres. But the thing is, that's one lap where we have to wait. And we can't really afford to wait too long because the tyre advantages will swing back to the hard runners. We're using everything at the beginning of lap 25. We're going to send it up the inside. Lucas tries to match us on the brakes, but we manage to send it and give him room and respect on the exit of turn 1, and that is us up into P6. We're looking at P5 as Bobbitt has got himself a penalty in the meantime, so this is looking really, really good for a top 5 finish. But we need to keep pushing as the mediums will lose their advantage the more laps we cover, and again we have to wait our turn. You can hear me say, why are you using as well, as Tech is looking to retain his position. And as you can see, we've got FRT Dan in P3 as well, so this is basically a fight for the podium, and we are right in the mixer. But we have to get past Tech in order to be... There's only one car between me and Bobbitt, but we can't really overtake at this section of the track. But there's a ghost car in front of us. It is Shazoo Lurch's ghost car, as there is a bit of contact there between Bobbitt and Dan, and that's a costly moment. We're going to try and pounce on this using the overtake at the exit of the hairpin, trying to size up a move on Tech, but he holds his nerve and he stays firm in P5 as we get past the ghost car just about without worrying about track limit warnings there. So not looking too bad. I was eager to pass Tech as well just to find out if Dan had any penalties, because we're fighting him for legitimate track position as a battle to who gets to finish ahead of Bobbitt, as he's got a 3-second time penalty. So we've stayed pretty disciplined with track limits, but the medium tyres have definitely lost their edge. I can tell you Bobbitt did get damaged from that incident with Dan, as he did make quite a bit of contact with him at the hairpin thanks to the ghost car. But once again, we're going to go back to draining the battery along with the DRS. Tech is flashing away, so that means we're going to be closing in quite nicely. By the time we get to the first corner, he tries to go defensive, but we take the inside line anyway, and we're side by side with Tech once again. He gets a little bit held up by Bobbitt to the exit of turn 1, and we swing round at turn 2, and that is us up into P5 in this Qatar Grand Prix. But unfortunately, it was just a little bit too late, as we didn't really have enough time to try and pass Bobbitt and Dan held his nerve in P3 at the beginning of the last lap. So it's a great recovery from a bad qualifying, but we're not going to quite get Bobbitt or Dan, but it's going to be our best result of the series.
We'll take P4. Very good recovery, that. Very good drive. Very good drive. Very good. Very, very good. Strong stuff, that.
And there you go. Confirmation we finish in P4 in the Qatar Grand Prix. Our best race so far on F1 24, just before the league racing season kicks off again. And I was very happy with this race. Really good pace, and it was a lot of fun going aggressively on the medium tyres. And that has an impact on the drivers and the Constructors' Championship. So, driver standings, we're up into P5, despite missing a race at Silverstone. Most people have done to 1 or 2 races, so I'm really happy to be 5th in the championship. And that is also the same thing with the Constructors. We are also 5th, back up to P5 after dropping to 7th going into this race. So a big result for the team, and we are back in P5. We've got 2 races to go, and the first one is in Brazil, and I hope you stay tuned for that one. But guys, be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the 2 videos on screen if you haven't seen them, and as always, I'll see all of you in the next one.